Oh,
Yeah.
over to you, Kirk.
Okay. Okay, you're welcome again.
Thank
Bye.
you. Yeah.
Okay. So as we normally do, first you just tell us a little bit about yourselves, who is Edward Pye, just a little bit about yourself, and then let's go.
Okay. So as you already know, I'm Edward Pye, and this is my real name. And yeah, I usually get that question most of the time. People think it's my Nikki, so whenever I say Edward Pye, I
Yeah.
need to explain why I'm Pye. I'm a son of a flower, and I had my primary education in Axim, and from there I moved to
Okay.
GSTS, studied science, and then I went to study computer science at KNUS. After which I served as and even before I started my national service, I was interning with Seya Mobile. So right after national service, I moved to join Seya Mobile full time, and after some time, I left Seya Mobile and joined IC Securities. And I also left IC Securities, went on my own for close to a year, after which I joined Rancard. So that's me, and I like to program.
Okay, that's cool. Do you have any hobbies as a programmer? Any hobbies apart from programming hobbies?
I'm coming.
But then,
Apart from programming, do you have any hobbies?
yeah,
Do apart
yeah,
from programming hobbies?
I like to play football a lot, and I like
Okay,
to ride
okay.
motorbikes too.
Because we
I,
are
I,
scheduled
I
to
I used the motorbike when I was at SEA for about more than a it was more of a hobby, and I like beaching too on weekends.
Okay,
Nti yung biya ka
that's
ho.
cool.
No, ti
Okay,
yung biya ka ho ni.
so as a programmer, you would like to tell us how you got into programming, what pushed you into programming?
How I got into programming. Okay, so I don't know if what I'm going to say is true for all Ghanaians, but I think once in every Ghanaian's child, every Ghanaian child's time, we dreamt of becoming medical doctors. It's more of something our parents put into our minds before we even grow up.
Yeah,
And can you guys hear me?
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, and after
Yeah,
some time, things start taking shape. So initially, it was my intention to become a medical doctor, like any regular Ghanaian child wants to be. And as time went on, I discovered my affinity for electronics. So I would dismantle anything that I lay my hands on to see exactly how things work. I wasn't comfortable seeing a toy car moving without seeing how things are actually making it move. So that is when I started discovering my interest in electronics. And I had an uncle who had also studied science before, so he encouraged me. I remember one time he came and I had connected some things. I was trying to make a helicopter, and that time I was in JHS also, yeah. And the helicopter would try to lift from the ground, and then it would go down. It would lift and then go down. So he asked me if I knew why the motor is moving around and why my helicopter couldn't lift and stuff like that. So back then he started teaching me some things about physics, and that is exactly when I started having my interest in electronics. So when I went to SS to study science and it was time for me to go to the university, I thought my safest bet was to go and study computer science so that I could know more about programming and then merge it with my electronics. Yeah.
okay, that's interesting. Okay, but you said you are a programmer. Okay, so have there been times that you think of maybe things didn't go really well, like bad moments that up and downs, like maybe times that you were so happy about being a programmer, or times that you were not so happy about it, things didn't really go well. Have there been such moments? Can you tell us some
I think
your
I
up and
have
down?
Okay, I have had some down times, and it is more of a recursive thing. I think I'm always down when I
Okay.
see when I'm supposed to maintain a poorly written code. That is one of my worst times as a programmer. I mean, yeah, we all know how to write code, but we do not want to read other people's code. So most of the time, we make it look like the person who wrote the previous code was the worst programmer ever, and we want to run away from it. But it gets to that point where starting from scratch is just not an option. So you are made to maintain what somebody has done, and if it is quite difficult getting your head around it, it really gets me down. And with respect to the financial aspect of programming as well, too, I've had some down times, especially when I was freelancing. I mean, the whole of last year. Sometimes you could go into contract with people after you've moved up and down for about 5 times to sign a contract, then you are about 70% into the project course, or they'll just call you and they'll be like, you know what, I'm no more interested in this project, so let's call it off. And all the time you've invested into the whole project becomes whack. And that is a really bad time for me.
Oh, so the app, any app time,
The uptime, the uptime was when I saw
always.
my app being demoed at TechCrunch. I just couldn't sit on my buttocks. And at one time, I remember I was in a taxi on the Spintex Road, and I saw a lady using Say chats, and I just couldn't control myself. I was like, I built this thing. I mean, the feel good factor that comes with seeing people using your app alone gets you going. And as I said earlier on, I love to program. So anytime I'm programming and then things are moving the way I want them to, I'm really happy.
That's interesting. Okay, you were talking about something about you projects and people not delivering. Can you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurship? At one time, you said you had to leave Syria and you were on your own. So
Yeah.
anything about entrepreneurship, like having tried to
Hello.
tell us something about it. Yeah, can you tell
Yeah.
us
Could you
how
please take the
that
question
journey,
again?
how it was like?
You mean
Okay, your
how
journey
being
as
on
an
my own?
entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, being an entrepreneur, like entrepreneurship.
Okay. Okay. At a point, let me start by telling you how I left Seiya. I actually left Seiya not because I wanted to, but we had a slight misunderstanding between myself and Robert. I guess you know him. Even though we are cool now, we had some
Yeah,
slight misunderstanding, and that is why I left Seiya. And after leaving, I felt I already had a lot of connections, so I wanted to try out my own ideas out there. But what I've experienced with freelancing is the irregularities in how often you get money. Sometimes you can get some big money in a month, and for about 4 or 5 months, no money is coming in. So that is quite challenging. And other times too, getting contracts itself is quite challenging. I think we haven't got to the point where, as Ghanaians, we believe in remote working. Yeah, I hope you get what I mean. Like elsewhere,
yeah,
remote
I get
working simply works. Yeah, you could sit at home and then you work for somebody. But we are yet to get to that stage where you could sit at home and work for somebody and the person will feel comfortable. So that was also a challenge. That was also a challenge when you try to be on your own. And another thing is knowing which ideas are going to work in Africa. Most of the time, if we just see any idea outside and then we try to mimic it down here, we forget about the cultural differences and then even the behavior of the indigents of the country. I mean, some things will simply work out and go viral in anywhere outside Ghana, but you can bring the same idea down here to Ghana and that becomes a problem. Another problem was the issue with payment. So, as a programmer, you have to come up with ideas, you spend some nights to build your app, and then you expect to get some little revenues from what you are building, at least to get you going. And you're always going to get your revenues through this payment stuff, and because of the attitude of some people within our country, you can simply not use payments online. So that was also quite a challenge, but it had been fun. It had been fun.
Okay. So as you're working with different companies, do you still have plans of going back to be an entrepreneur, like be on your own?
Yeah, exactly, and that is the more reason why I had to get back into working in a corporate organization to learn how they do their things and how not to do certain things, make the necessary connections, and then learn from the mistakes others are doing. So I think when you are in a corporate organization like this, you get to see what works. Sometimes you have an idea, you'll be massaging it on your own, but the best way to tell if an idea is going to sell is to have a test run to see how people are going to take it. So yeah, I still have the intention of getting into
Okay.
something of my own.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay, I can say you like playing with a lot of programming languages. What's the history of your programming language history? How is it like? What led you to your choice of favorite programming language?
My choice of programming language. Okay, so I actually started learning programming in first year computer science department, and I remember going to my HOD to ask him if he should tell me the price of a compiler, and I will ask my daddy to buy me a compiler. All those times the things were so abstract. He came to class talking about compilers and stuff. I didn't really know what it all meant. I couldn't even believe that people could type without looking on the keyboard. So, and I also studied computer science for a whole year without a laptop. So I had a friend, I think he just joined on this conversation. He's called Sadiq. And he had already got some prior experience with programming from NIT, and we were all scared of him in the class. So, I mean, I had to look sharp by befriending him. Yeah, I owe him one thing. He's the reason I understood, couldn't get my head around the concept of arrays. It was so hard for me to understand. So, um, my programming journey has been fun. I started off with VB, and as my first project, I tried creating a Ludo game. That was first year computer science. I tried creating a Ludo game, and it got to a point where I was having issues. So I went to see a TA. He also has a company right now. I've even forgotten the name of his company, but I went to see him for help, and the TA gave me 10 million reasons why I shouldn't use VB. So he made sure I deleted my project there and there. I don't know. I'm sure Selim knows. Elom or Selim knows. I don't like VB, and I like passing a lot of comment about it. I remember at the DevCongress hackathon, the Empower hackathon, Yabuachi said he remembered the part saying if they are calling programmers and VB programmers go, Photoshop users should also go as well. I mean, that's one of the funny things I say about VB. So I started with VB. I was so interested in it, and this year gave me 10,000 reasons why I shouldn't go ahead with VB, and he introduced me to Java. And as I was saying, I didn't have a computer, so I was using people's own, and I had to go and buy this book, Java How to Program from Kingdom. So I wrote my code and everything, compiled in my head, caught my errors in my head until I laid my hand on somebody's machine and then practiced with it. So that is what made me fall in love with Java, the way I was able to understand it, even though I was scared of it in the first place. And I like to explore new paradigms of programming as well. So once I see that I have a hang on one programming language, I like to get to know what is possible out there by learning about most of the new things I hear about. So I want to know something about everything and everything about some things, so that in case I have a problem at hand I need to solve, I know what is possible in what language, so that if I have to dig deeper into that particular language, I will dig deeper into it for that particular project. And that is how come I ended up learning a lot of programming languages. So for now, Java is my #1 language, and even though I hate it, it looks like it's mainstream in Ghana. and C# is growing way past it. But I love Java and Python so well.
Okay, so these days your programming language is Java a lot.
Pardon?
So these days you do Java a lot?
Yeah, I do Java a lot.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. And then with Java, your development environment, what do you normally go with?
I used to like
Yeah.
NetBeans until I saw IntelliJ.
So you don't use NetBeans and no Eclipse.
It depends on what type of project I'm working on. For Android kind of project, I would want to use IntelliJ, and for enterprise applications, I would want to use NetBeans because I'm already used to NetBeans' way of doing stuff. Especially if I don't use a build tool. Let's say if I use Maven, you know that one is ID agnostic, so you can open it anywhere and continue working. But if for any reason I didn't choose to use a build tool and it's an enterprise application and I have no time to take care of surprises, I'll take the safer way by using what I'm already used to. But day in, day out, I'm getting better with IntelliJ, so eventually I'll move to IntelliJ full time.
Oh, okay, that's great. So you do your Android with so you use the Android Studio.
I haven't started using Android Studio. I remember Android Studio making me to restart a project. You know, it's a product in development, and I like to. I switched to it earlier, and at a point there was something I just couldn't do. It simply couldn't find my R file, which was so important in Android, and not even copying the files and pasting it in an Eclipse project faced it. So I had to manually create a new project in Eclipse and then copy things one, compile and build till I get to where I was. So for now, I still use Eclipse, even though I've seen the latest Android books. I've started using Android Studio, which is an indication of the fact that it has started to work as expected.
Yeah. Okay. Before the Android Studio, you were doing Android projects, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you don't use Eclipse.
Yeah. So I use Eclipse. That is what I use even now. But since I started with this guy IntelliJ, I like to, if it's a new project I'm working on, I like to create it using IntelliJ. But if it's an old thing I've already built with Eclipse, then I'll keep using Eclipse.
Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so I hope you have something in stock for us. This is exchange, so you should not be ready to exchange something with us, some code or some trick or something you want to show the community.
Oh, okay. So I have to share my screen with you, right? Okay,
yeah,
so I'm a fan of design patterns. As I said earlier on, I hate to read poorly written code, and that is more of a normal thing amongst developers. When we are starting, we always have something we'll fix tomorrow. We have something we'll fix tomorrow. I can see my classmate is also here, Sadiq, and Sadiq. Okay, he can't hear me. So we have things we will do and then we say we'll fix it tomorrow, and that tomorrow never comes until your code ends up in somebody's hand. And I read from Crockford's book that if you are writing code, write it such that comments will not be needed. So the choice of your variable names, your class names, because I've ever seen code written by professionals and variable names are something like int1, and then class 1, class 2, class 3. I mean, when you are reading this kind of code. So when I saw that I'll have the chance to demo something, I decided to let us do some simple design patterns. So I'm going to show 2 simple design patterns that we can all use when we are coding. I think that would be
cool. Okay.
Okay.
Then we are ready for that.
All right. So I guess I have to share my screen with you, right?
Yeah, you have to share your screen.
Okay. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start off by creating a basic Java application in NetBeans.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to call it DevCongress Exchange.
Yeah.
And the two design patterns I'm going to talk about are singleton design pattern and the factory design pattern. So I guess we all know about design pattern. It's just a set of tried and tested ways of solving common programming problems that is very important if we follow as developers, so that if anybody who is already familiar with some design pattern is reading your code, he wouldn't find it difficult to read them. So I'm going to start off by showing you the factory design pattern. Are we good to go?
Yeah, I think I'm good to go.
Okay, so I'm going to use a database application for an example. So in this session we are going to assume we are creating an application which is going to connect to multiple database backends, and we don't really know which one we are going to connect to. At any point in time, we could be asked to connect to, let's say, MongoDB, MySQL, Oracle, or SQLite. So what the factory design pattern does is it is going to hide is a creational pattern. Hey, Sadek, what's up?
Ade,
Is
what's
is
up,
a
you?
Ade. Charlie, guys, that's my senior man, the guy who made me understand arrays.
Okay.
So we are going to assume we are going to create a program that is going to connect to multiple database backends using the factory design pattern. And as I was saying, the factory design pattern is a creational pattern. Like, it helps you to create objects of classes where you actually hide the logic of creating the object, and you expose something which has a common interface. Maybe an example will let you understand it properly. So I'm going to start off by creating an interface called DB connection. Yeah, so this is going to be the common interface which will be implemented by all our database backends that we would want to connect to in this project. So over here, let's define some functions. Let's say public void open connection. And then we have, let's say we have a parameter. So I hope you guys can still see my screen.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
see.
All right. Okay. So the assumption we are making here is that which can connect to a number of database backends, right? Which could be MongoDB, SQLite, MySQL, or Oracle. And we want to do it in such a way that it is going to be database agnostic. So at any point in time, we could be asked to switch to using MySQL instead of SQLite, and we really want to actually have to touch our code base before we get that task executed. So with the factory pattern, we will have multiple classes which implement a common interface, and we are going to use that interface to create an object. So it's going to be concrete class agnostic. It wouldn't matter which class you want to use. So now we have a common interface that all our database backends are going to use. So we call it the DB connection. So I'm going to go ahead to create a Mongo connection class. And I'm going to create an SQLite connection. And let's create maybe a Neo4j connection. Okay. Okay, so all these classes will have to implement our DB connection. All right. All right, so I'm going to override all those functions I've declared in the DB connection interface to show something specific to the particular database backend we are trying to connect. So I'm going to assume that when we call open connection on the MongoDB connection class, we are going to print out connected to the Mongo instance. And the close function will also print connection to MongoDB instance closed. And for some reason, let's assume our system is always going to have for is connected, we are going to say return true for all instances. And find all, we are going to return, let's say, just a new array list of strings. So let's say hello.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we can see you, Edward. You are following.
Can you guys? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So what I've done here is I have an interface called DB connection. And inside it, I've declared the functions which is going to be common across all database connections that we'll be using in our application. So for every database that we'll be using, every database backend we'll be using, we want to open connections by supplying a connection string. And we want to close, we want to query whether it is connected, and then we want to find all. Let's say we are finding all people from the database. And over here in the MongoDB, it's also implement the DB connection. So in effect, the MongoDB connection class is a DB connection. And I've placed things in it that's going to make it specific to MongoDB. We are going to do a similar thing for the other concrete classes. So have SQLite, and that one is going to display connected to SQLite instance. And the close is going to print something. Connection to SQLite is closed. Okay. And for the is connected, we are always going to return true. We are going to assume the system is going to be up all the time, but in a real database application, we have to write code to check whether we are actually connected to the backend. And for the find all, I'm going to replicate whatever I have across board. Okay, so I'm going to do a similar thing for the new for JDB instance as well. Okay, so this one is new for J, and I'm going to copy this one. So this connection closed. It's going to show that connection to new for JDB is closed, and disconnected is going to return true, and the find all is going to return the same object irrespective of the database backend we are using. Okay, I hope we are cool. As at this point, we are all cool, right?
Yeah, we are following.
Okay, all right. So, in effect, all these classes, the MongoDB connection, the new for JDB connection, the SQLite DB connection, are all DB connections because they implement a common interface. Now, what we have to do is to come up with a class that will be responsible for creating objects, and we would have to add some logic for the factory to know what kind of object we are looking for. So in order to tell it which kind of object we are looking for, I would let us create an enumeration called DB connection type. And inside here, we are going to have constants for the 3 DB connections that we want to do. So we have one for Mongo, we have one for Neo, for J, and another one for SQLite. Okay, so we are going to create our factory. We call it DB connection factory. And inside this DB connection factory, we have a function that is supposed to create a DB connection for us. So we have public DB connection get DB connection, and then we pass it a DB connection type. Okay, so we'll do a switch here to determine what to return based on the connection type the person wanted. Okay, let me do this. Okay, so are you guys following?
Yeah, we are following.
Okay, so at this point, we've created a factory called DB Connection Factory, and it's going to be responsible for creating DB connection instances based on the type of connection we want. So let's say this is a live system, and we can't guarantee the least downtime, and it is necessary that we switch from, let's say, MongoDB to Neo4j. Then all we have to do is to change something small, and then we get our connection to the new database backend created. So inside, let's say this is our main function. So I'm going to create a connection to a MongoDB instance, and for that I can just do a DB connection factory. Let's call that factory. Let's go to new DB connection factory. And then I will do MongoDB connection. I will do a connection so over here I will pass it a connection type of Mongo. And that will mean it will return an instance of a MongoDB connection, because I am letting the factory get me a connection by passing it a DB connection type Mongo. So the logic for creating the object is encapsulated in this particular function found in the DB connection factory class called getDBConnection. And in the client, let's just try to open connection and then see what's going to happen. So let's say we are connecting to some Mongo instance. I'm just putting some dummy stuff in here, and okay, so I want you to pay attention to what I'm highlighting here, and I hope you guys can see that.
Yeah, I can see.
Hello. Yeah. So if let's say this is our final system, we have provided the system and it's live and it's running. We are connecting to MongoDB. Everything is working all right, and for some reason we are supposed to switch to SQLite. Because we used a factory design pattern, we wouldn't have to incur too much downtime. I mean, shut the system down for a long time and then get our SQLite connection class created, make sure it does whatever we want to do before we fix it in. All we have to do is to come here and then change the connection type to SQLite and start our system. You see that now we are connecting to an SQLite instance. I hope it's clear.
Yeah, I think that's clear.
Okay, so I don't know if there is any explanation anybody would want me to give. I'm sure it has been pretty quick and not so smooth. So if there is anything anybody didn't understand, maybe the person can ask and then I will explain properly.
So any question from anybody? Somebody wants to do something particular?
Sadek, I don't like the way you're looking at your screen.
That's a fast song. What is?
Yes.
So any question, guys?
Okay, now the question is, apart from the, I think we don't have questions concerning the code. So now, there's a point people want to ask you maybe any question concerning your life as a developer.
You said any question concerning what?
You being a developer. They want maybe people want to find out about you, more about you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to be a background? No, I don't. But I have nobody before.
So, any question, guys?
I'm just listening.
Fine.
Yeah, Sadiq.
So when you will give me exercise?
When will I give you exercise?
Have you shown me something? So if I give you exercise.
I think this is question time, so you have to ask me questions instead.
Okay. Yeah. So Claude has a question. But
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, but first, can you switch back your webcam? You are still seeing your. You can stop sharing your screen now. I think so.
Okay.
You are still sharing your screen. Yeah.
Okay. 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 I'm back now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this one is from Claude. So I wanted to find out how is it to live as a freelancer in Ghana. Is there enough money to be made? Did you get a question?
Yeah, I got a question. I think it depends on how important the person sees what you are building for him or her. You know, we are used to getting softwares for free all the time. So when it gets to that point where you have to pay for a software, depending on how much value the person associates with a piece of software you're going to create for him or her, you could make some big money or some small money. But irrespective of how much you're going to make, they will always come and make it look as though it's a small job. I mean, they will come, if it's a shop management, they will come and tell you, I just need something to keep inventory of, like, keep stock of the items in my shop and the price and blah, blah, blah. By the time you finish, you build a complete shop management system. And some of them could even go to the extent of asking you for a mobile application for them to monitor how their work is going. And as I said earlier on, there are times where you would be about 70% into the project and the person will just call you and cancel the contract. And from experience, before starting the project, I either charge 40% before I start the project, 30% when we are 50% into the project, and the remaining 10% after I have given you the product, you accept that it meets all the requirements you wanted. If there is staff training, I do the staff training, then I take the rest and go. And for some instances too, you can take 60% before you start, and then the 40% later. Now, when I say 60% or 40% before you start, even if all you did was to create the project in NetBeans, you have started, because our time is our money. So once you sign an agreement, you always have to make sure that the person really knows what you want. He tells you into details what you want. I want this, I want this, I want this. You keep a checklist of the items the person wants. Send it back to him to cross-check before you sign off, and then have a proper contract, because people always want to find ways of cheating. Yeah, so there are sometimes the money will come big and other times to not come. So it's not all rosy, but it's not that bad too.
Okay. I think he's still asking which project like did you work on when you were freelancing? Which kind of project you
Okay,
normally
so
work on?
for most of the things I did, it was more of maintaining codes for enterprises. So the very last one I did was for a lawyer who works with the Ghana Bar Association, and it was an application for organizing conferences. So he uses it in-house to organize conferences, and then people should be able to book and reserve their space. They will have to choose which sessions they are going to attend, and then which sessions they are not going to attend. And once that is done, information, you format it nicely and send it to the ushers of the event, so that they know beforehand how many people are going to be in this room for this session, how many people are going to be here for the other session. And currently, I'm working on a mobile banking application for rural banks. That one is even though I'm working full time, I'm still into my freelancing stuff, and I'm working on a mobile banking application for the rural bank. So it is something like the StanChat Breeze. I hope you've all heard of Breeze, right? The
Yeah,
Standard
I
Chartered
saw
mobile
it.
banking application. Yeah. So that is what I'm currently working on. And yeah, those are some of the things I did as freelancers. Most of the time, I was maintaining code which people were using in house already.
But do you normally use like freelancing sites or through people you know?
Hmm. I tried a few of them, but I don't know. I think I didn't push it hard enough because I didn't believe the fact that I will work remotely for somebody I don't know when the person. I really didn't believe in that. I always wanted to take the safer chances. So I like to work for people down here in Ghana instead of doing it remotely.
Oh, okay. Okay. You as a developer, how well is your? Do you do a lot of test-driven development?
Pardon?
Do you do a lot of test-driven um, development? TDD.
Do I do?
A lot like your development. Test-driven. Are they mostly
I,
test-driven?
I I can't really hear you properly.
Okay, let me type your question.
Okay.
Did you say it?
Um.
I was asking about test-driven development.
Okay. Like, do I do more of it? Honestly, I do not. I do not.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
doing, yeah, I don't do a lot of test-driven development. It's all a matter of meeting your requirement, making sure it works the way it works, and most of the time, what I do is I have a VPS on Digital Ocean. I always swap the name, whether it's Ocean Digital or Digital Ocean. I have a VPS there, and I've created something in Flask. And what I do is I channel exceptions from things I have worked on to that part. So it's more of an error log for myself, so that even remotely, I will know how things I have built are faring, and I wouldn't have to wait for the owner of the software to call me that this is not working properly. So right from my place, I would see what is happening, and then uh, periodically I'll fix it.
Oh, okay. As you say, right now you work full time with Rancard, but you still do your.
Periodically, pa.
Uh, you
Pardon?
work for Rancard. You
Yeah.
work for Rancard full time, but you still freelance.
Yeah.
How is how is that like? How are you combining that?
um, it's not easy, but I mean the money comes, so the money compensates for the sleepless night, and it got to a point where I had to resign from a lot of contract. Like last 2 weeks, for instance, I was consulting for Retail Tower. We were trying to rebuild their system, and so I was coming there 4 times in a month. They were paying some good money, but Charlie, at the point in time, you see that you need to rest. You get it. You got to be there, and the muscles of my eye will be telling you that you have to sleep. So, yeah. But as long as the money is coming, we can sacrifice some sleep.
So the money compensates for sleep.
Um,
Okay, but what do you normally, if I may ask, what do you normally work on as Rancard?
okay, so we provide card. We provide services basically for the telecom companies like MTN, Glo, Vodafone, and stuff like that. So there is this product that I worked on first when I came here. They call it Vodafone Live. Is a way of making people purchase and listen to music in the cloud. So you can go to vodafonelive.com.gh, and that is a Rancard product. And we are building an Android client to supplement that site, because people don't really feel comfortable having to sit behind their machine, log into a website before they can listen to music they have paid for. And as far as I know, we have about 445,000 people, and we are charging them 50 pesos every month for that. And most of them are not even downloading the songs of it they have been charged. So what I worked on when I joined Rancard first was to create native plugins for applications they have already started in PhoneGap to read music from your device and then upload it to the cloud, read your contacts and all those stuff. And as part of the service, that service you are providing, we are also trying to come up with a recommendation engine which can recommend items for your friends, because we feel recommendations which come from people you know is trusted more than some random recommendation that will come. So let's say you hear that you, Claude, for instance, you're there and then you get a recommendation that Osborne bought this book, and because Osborne is your friend, we think you might like it. I believe you would trust that more than some random recommendation telling you that, hey, we think you like this because of some free information. So we, as part of the Vodafone Live thing, we are reading your graph from Facebook, Google, and your phone contacts to make better recommendations for you. And that is what I worked on first when I came here. And currently I'm working on an application for MTN Nigeria to sell ebooks. So you use it to discover ebooks, you use it to pay for them, and then you read them all in the cloud. So it's a Kindle-like application I'm creating. Those are the two things I've been working on.
That sounds interesting. Okay, another question: what do you think are the opportunities for new developers? And that's from Claude.
What do I think are the opportunities for
new developers?
For being a developer.
For new developers, people who are coming to them.
A new developer. Okay, let me say for me, my journey was quite different. And as an entry-level programmer, say I did a good job. As of 2 years ago, they were paying me about $1,002 or so, and that was some money 2 years ago. But as far as I know, for entry-level programmers, people will give you 700 and stuff. But I think what should drive you is the passion for your work and the new knowledge you be gaining. And that accounts for the reason why I haven't been stable at my previous places. I really hate it when my work becomes repetitive. Like, I don't like any job that prior to starting, you really know your way around it. You know, sometimes surprises are the best way to learn. You'll be asked to do something challenging, and because of that, you have to learn something new to be able to do it. Because our job is such that you have to mix your tight deadlines with the fast pace at which technology is changing. Already there are 10 million things we don't know, and as we talk right now, as we chat right now, somebody somewhere is coming up with some technology you will have to know if you want to fit into the programming ecosystem in the next few years. So you have to mix learning new stuff with meeting your deadline. So I would love to work in a challenging environment, and that is an advice I will give to people who are getting into programming for the first time, that they should choose the more challenging one, because it will really affect their growth. I really learned a lot when I came to say that is when I heard of JSON, and I'd never done XML parsing. You were back there on campus, I thought I was a guy.
Oh, okay. I think Claude is asking again about your spare time. Which, do you even have a spare time? Okay. We talk about riding motorbike. Talk about riding motorbike and stuff already. And then Sadiq.
Yeah, Sadiq is my buddy, and I don't like the way he's looking at his screen.
Okay, so that's the question. So So what advice does Pi have on the importance of design patterns, especially for new entrants into the field? Your advice, new entrants, like people
I
who are
think
just starting to go.
my advice to new developers. Actually, let me show my appreciation to Sadiq. He's actually the one who introduced me to the whole of design patterns. I didn't even know what design patterns were, and I heard him talking about design patterns. As at that time, I used to pronounce the word pattern as pattern, and he would laugh at me. So he's the one who brought up this whole issue of design pattern and gang of four. That guy was a monster. I mean, he was a monster in the class. So he introduced me to design patterns, and when I really spent time to learn it, I saw a tremendous change in the way I work, and then the way it improved my code reading ability. So my simple advice is that we should really spend some time to lay down a strong foundation in the OOP concept of whatever language we are using. If it's Java you are using, make sure you understand the core syntax and semantics of Java, and then you move on to understanding the real object-oriented programming construct of the language itself. When they say inheritance, what does it mean? When they say polymorphism, what does it mean? When they say encapsulation. I think after that, the next thing any developer will have to do is to learn design patterns. Because depending on your level of experience in Java, you might open a JDK code, the code that comes with a JDK, and you might think it's some new language, it's some other language. Meanwhile, it is Java they have used, and it's got of the patterns. And I mean, it's not just about writing code which works. You get it? It's about writing code which works, and it's easy to maintain. Because most of the time, the jobs you get will actually involve maintaining code written by somebody. And sometimes you see some code and you feel like you should break the machine into two. You can't imagine some of the codes we see around. Somebody will actually create a code, and for every exception, the message he logs is Yawai, Yawai, Yawai. So if you have 4,000 exceptions, everything is Yawai. Now you run this program, you get an error, and all you see is Yawai. It has print stack trace for you to see where the thing is coming from. So now how do I find out where this Yawai is coming from? How do I fix this Yawai? So I think after learning your basic syntax and semantics of the language you want to use, the next thing you have to do is to invest some time into learning design patterns. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's great. And someone said, for new developer, which language resource do you recommend?
For new developers,
Java guys.
For now, I mean, nobody loved Java more than me, but
Go.
let me take it this way. The choice of a programming language you choose as your #1 language determines how much money you can actually make. And it is largely dependent on which part of the world you find yourself. Most of the time, you'd want to choose the cheaper side by choosing between the two mainstream languages. Is either I do Java or I go .NET. Why? Because I want to increase my chances of being employed. Forgetting that the more chances there are for you to get employed, the little you'll be paid. You get it? So I advise that every programmer should know at least one of the two mainstreams. And for me, I would go with Java, even though I love C#. The only reason why I'm not doing too much of C# is the fact that I know whatever I do is going to end up on a Windows-only system. And even though Mono is trying as much as possible to make .NET cross-platform, I still don't feel comfortable coding in C# on a Mac. So I'll go the Java way. But after you've chosen a mainstream language, the next thing you have to do is to choose some other language that most people do not know. Right now, if there is a job opportunity for Python developers, only few people will show up. If there is a job opportunity for Erlang developers, only few people will show up. If there is a job opportunity for Scala, Go, only few people will show up. That means those people will be paid highly because there is a high demand and the supply is too small. So I choose to stand anywhere on the ladder, and you have to chase me there. But if you're a mainstream guy, if he doesn't employ you, somebody is itching. Somebody can't wait for you to go away for him to come and take your Java place. So I think it's really important for us all to be polyglots. Learn at least one of the mainstream programming languages, and then learn one language which is not common. So that especially if you are doing freelancing, I would always use that language which is not common. So that way, the owner of the software's hand will be in my mouth. Anytime I need money, I'll bite you small. You call me to come, because if I'm not around, it's not easy finding a Pythoner. If I'm not around, it's not easy finding somebody who does Ella to come and fix the code for you. So if I'm given the freedom to choose what technology to use, I would always choose that language which is not mainstream. It's not like I'm being wicked or something. It's all about money. So Charlie,
Right.
learn some mainstream things and then learn some non-mainstream stuff.
Right.
Okay, I can say,
Excuse.
I can say, like I said, it took the argument to the getting job and payment stuff. I think some people give the advice from the angle of maybe what the language can do, what it cannot do, the bad aspects of it, those language
Um,
arguments that people normally do.
you
PHP
see,
haters, Java haters, like a lot.
the problem with those things is that most of the time when you read those reviews online, it is coming from people who have not really done serious stuff with any language, and then they'll just choose and they'll compare it on the surface. For me, for as long as the language can get the job done, there is always a second opportunity for you to do the thing well. You get what I mean? Let's say right now you don't know CSS very well, you don't know Angular JS. All you know is how to use HTML tables to create a page layout, and somebody demands that you create a page for him in about, let's say, 2 days. You don't have the luxury of time to go and learn Angular and CSS and all those stuff to create it. So use what you know, which works as at that time. That is why learning is important as a programmer. I mean, as a programmer, you shouldn't sleep and wake up the same person. Every blessed day, you need to make sure you have learned something new you didn't know yesterday. If between yesterday and today, you still know the old stuff, then you are not developing. So you make constant growth your friend, and use whatever you can use to get the job done for the first time. Maybe it could not be the best, but it gets the job done. As far as customers or users are concerned, they don't care. Me, that I was making a fuss about VB. Let's get a job right now. They said whoever finishes first get the money. The VB guy goes with his Windows form, and then I am doing my servlet and JSPs. It takes me 2 weeks to finish. The VB guys, it takes him, let's say, a night to finish. He'll go, he'll get it, and he has all the luxury of time to fix stuff. So we need to use what we know at that point in time to get a job done, and later you find out what is really best we can't get it perfect for the first time. It will have to undergo regular maintenance to get there. So yeah.
Okay, that's it. So, any question from anyone? Any question? Hello, any question again from anyone? Okay, I think no question again. So, last word, anything that you want to tell other developers out there or anything to the
Okay.
community?
Okay. My final word to our developer community is, I don't know if anybody has been following me on Facebook, but I like to create a whole lot of, um, 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 I like to rant a lot about the mediocrity in our industry. We have too many fake programmers. People don't have time to really master the tools they have to master before we set out there making all the noises. For all you know, some 4 people, 8 people will go and be in some room. They'll say, "Oh, we are doing some top apps award," and the award, the app that will come out as the winner, is nothing to write home about. And that is setting a low standard for ourselves. I know we can do better than we are doing now. I mean, what noise should we make about an application that will send a notification when you get a letter at the post office? Let's get real, people. Let's just get real. If I get a letter at the post office, That is why there are dispatch riders or whatever they call them to ride to my house and give me. So let's build things that solve problems within our society. It shouldn't be an application that will let you teleport from one place to the other. It should solve the simple problems in society. For instance, I'm new in Accra. I want to get a taxi and go somewhere. All these apps have not been built, but we are looking at the next Twitter, the next distance. But I believe in keeping things simple. You tackle the little problems in society that really matters, and let's make an investment into our education as well. As a programmer, spend some time buying some books, reading them, look at other people's code, even though it is something we are all scared of doing. It really helps to look at other people's code to see how people go about different problems. And so basically, let's just get real, guys. Let's just get real.
Okay, let's get real. That's from Edward. I think over here, nobody has any question again. We thank you so much for being part of this. I think taking your time to share with us some of the code. You taught us something about design patterns. That was great. Maybe if later on some people might want to maybe know the code, you might want to push it somewhere for people who want to have a look at the code, maybe do it later on.
Okay, I'll do that.
And then people like to maybe engage with you, maybe talk. Maybe can you just give us your Twitter handle?
Okay, so my Twitter handle
page, maybe people will like you follow, maybe ask further questions.
And my phone number is 0200662782. Yeah, so the first one is my Twitter handle, the second one is my phone number.
Hackstock Pad. What informed that name do?
I watched some hackers movie and there were a lot of names, cyberpunk, so I chose Hackstock and I added my pie.
Okay. So thank everyone for joining us and thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you guys too for the opportunity.
For being part of the exchange. Yeah.
All right.
So maybe by the end of this month we'll just talk about something. We'll all come together and talk about something else. But this argument, this conversation can continue online on social media.
All right.
We hope you take some time.
Yeah, I will. Anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Rice.
Thank you.
And stew. Charlie Sadiq.
Yo.
What the hell, man?
Master, I know if you do that thing for the DevCongress hangout top.
Wow, what's up?
You don't pay for this thing.
Charlie, five things.
All right, Charlie. Thanks.
Sorry, we make late tomorrow.
No, Charlie. I would even want us to have a better one. This one was more of some impromptu thing. So maybe if there is any other opportunity, put me there, and I'll be glad to handle it again.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you, guys.